talented woman, okay? So, good cook. So, all of that to say that after I had my stroke and I was hospitalized, the food, which I mentioned in my video Stroke Jokes, was terrible, terrible, terrible. And one day, I was visiting with my father one afternoon, and I was sitting there hungry because I had already sent my lunch back because they had sent me pork for lunch. And then they'll tell me that it wasn't in my notes, that no pork was not in my dietary notes. And I knew doggone well that that was not true because I was looking right at the ticket that they had brought me on the tray, that they had placed on the tray that included pork, and the ticket itself said no pork. So somebody must have missed that. Anyway, the food was, they had me on like a, I guess the technical term for it, or the hospital term for it, is a soft diet, because I had been intubated and they wanted to minimize the risk of me choking on my food. So that meant that my food had to be easy to chew, easy to swallow, and easy to sweep out the side of my cheek, my left cheek, since that was my affected side and had been paralyzed immediately after the stroke. You can still notice that somewhat on the left side of my face. At least I can. Maybe you see even more asymmetry than was there before. My face was never perfectly symmetrical, but it's even less so now. Which, glad to still have a face for people to see. Glad it ain't underground or in ashes sitting in an urn somewhere. Okay? Very thankful. Thank God. Alright. So, one afternoon, I'm making so much noise in this chair. One afternoon, when my father was visiting me, and like I said, after I had already sent my lunch back, sitting there hungry, the young man who was the head of the dietary department came in carrying a tray to set it on the tray table before me. And I'm telling y'all, the way the brother came in, looking like a supplicant, like he was about to say, whatever foods you like, really struck me. So I asked him, I said, brother, did you prepare this with your own 2 hands? And did you make it with love? And he looked away. I took that to mean no to both. Okay? And my father was like, ugh, that's not a good sign. And I was like, no, it's not. He said it like under his breath, but like in a stage whisper. Because we're both kind of extra and dramatic like that. And I was like, no, it's not. So the dude literally placed the tray down, in a deferential manner, and literally backed out of the room. It was too much. Which really only added to my impression of that, of coming to America. So, and something said to me, you know what? This about to be some bullshit right here. This ain't gonna be shit. And y'all, it tasted terrible. It looked good, but it did not taste that way. The looks were deceiving. You've probably heard other good cooks say this, and they say that the secret is to cook with love. That's not a cliche. They say that for a reason. It makes a difference. Let me tell you something. My grandmother could cook, but she was not a good cook because she did not enjoy it and she put no love into it. She could make 3 really tasty things. One of them was coffee, which you don't actually cook. I know that. The second thing was these really tasty, flat little biscuits that she used to make from scratch. Ooh, they were about this thin. And delicious. They went really well with her coffee too. And then the third thing, ooh, you know what? Let me not lie on my grandma. 4 things. The third thing was the cornbread dressing that my mother made. And the 4th thing was peanut brittle. Now, what did I just say? Coffee, biscuits, cornbread dressing, and peanut butter brittle? What do these things have in common? Nothing. They're not a meal. Shit. Okay? You can't cook any of those things together. They're not complimentary dishes. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I had to laugh over that. But bringing it back to my mother once again, when I was hospitalized, I felt her presence very close to me. And I truly do believe that her proximity is the reason that I survived the stroke, because I could not tell you right now where my phone was in my bedroom, but I know when I had that stroke and I called out to my Amazon device, whose wake word is Echo, and told her to call 911, that chick said to me, "I'm sorry, if you're having an emergency, you need to use a real phone, because I can't do that shit for you." So, all right, noted. Also, I had my tablet, which I most often use when I'm in my house. And my tablet was on Wi-Fi with my Google Voice number, which is also on Wi-Fi. Said that oddly. And that doesn't call 911 either. Like I said, don't know where my cell phone was, but I knew that I needed to reach it in order to be able to call for help for myself, because something was not right. I could barely move. And I remember calling out to my mother saying, "Mama, please help me, Mama. Please help me." I don't remember what happened between that plea and that phone call, but I got 911 on the phone. And not only, now we're going to put this all on God, right? Because somehow I made it down the stairs to unlock the door for the EMS personnel so that they wouldn't break it down. And remember having the presence of mind to tell the 911 dispatcher to please tell them not to break it down, and then joking that I didn't think I could afford to replace it. So anyway, my mother was near to me, and after all that bad food and being brought pork after pork after pork after pork dish, ground pork, honey, I felt like Bubba and Forrest Gump. Instead of shrimp, it was pork. Minced pork, ground pork, pureed pork, creamed pork, pork. It was terrible. So, that night after the whatever foods you like incident, I said, Mama, I don't know if you can hear me. I prayed to my mother, y'all. I said, Mama, I don't know if you can hear me, but I feel like you can. I said, you know what a good cook you were. I said, so Mama, if you could just, I said, that boy really don't seem to know what he doing. I said, so Mama, if you could just reach down and guide his hand to some seasonings and then just pass his hand with that seasoning over my food, Mama, and over everybody's food. I would really love that. And I think everyone else would appreciate it too. So that was my prayer, complete with an amen.